you happy if I expand that one out? It becomes 3n plus 12n squared. Okay. So if I take the limit of this, what happens? Convergent, divergent, or periodic? Divergent. You happy that term is just going to grow massively? It's just going to shoot off to infinity. So it's divergent. Okay. I would write my limit notation in. So I'd say limit as n approaches infinity of this approaches infinity. Something along those lines. Okay. But that's why it's divergent. Right? What about this one? Convergent, you happy? Because eventually, as we take the limit as this, that thing's going to take on the characteristics of 7 over n to the 4. And actually, that term's going to dominate. So that gets bigger. The whole thing gets smaller. Okay, so therefore, it's convergent. Good. All right. What about this one? Okay, how do we know?
Because when you get x limit 6 to 16 to the power n, it will be.
Yeah, that one's going to get much, much quicker than 8 to the power of n. Like taking 8 and raising it to a power is nowhere near as big as taking 16 and raising it to a power. Okay, so eventually that's going to take on the characteristics of 1 over 16 to the n. That's going to get massive, so we're dividing 1 by a bigger and bigger number, hence the whole thing gets smaller. So therefore, it must be convergent. Okay, this one caused a little bit of an issue. Well, not an issue, but like people were thinking about it a little bit. I think we came to the right answer. I think it is also convergent. But how do we know? How can we think about this one? Think about what the graphs of ln n and n are going to look like for positive values of n. So in other words, just on this side of the axis. Okay. Would you be happy that ln n looks something like this? It's natural log. Okay, so it is growing here, like it flattens out a little bit, but it is still growing just ever so slightly. Okay, so as n gets bigger, this thing is going to grow, but just very, very small, very, very slightly. Okay, but are you happy that the graph y equals n will just look something like this? Okay, I mean they might intersect. I can't think. They might intersect, but eventually this thing is just going to overtake this thing. Okay, so you're happy this term is going to dominate, the n term is going to dominate. Hence, as I take the limit as n approaches infinity, this thing will just take on the characteristics of 1 over n. Okay, the ln n just kind of drops out. It doesn't make a difference anymore. Okay, so therefore it is convergent. You happy with that? Okay. What about sine n? It's periodic, right? You can think about the graph of sine. In fact, I've drawn it already. Just goes up, down, up, down, up, down. It's just periodic. Okay, so periodic. Okay. What about this thing? Convergent, because as I take the limit as n approaches infinity of this thing, what does it approach? So that term's going to dominate, 5n squared is going to dominate, and that's going to dominate on the denominator. Hence, this thing will just become something that looks like 1 over n, okay? Which is also convergent, okay? So this thing's convergent, good. Finally then, what about this one? You happy? Ah, wait a minute. Yep, thank you. I missed that one. I thought it said 4n. Sorry, I was trying to rush through. All right, okay. Yeah, okay, so let's try this one then. What term's going to dominate on the numerator? It's the 4 to the n. What term's going to dominate on the denominator? It's going to be the n cubed. Okay, I've changed my mind. Are you happy that term's going to grow massively, much, much quicker than a mere periodic one? Sorry, I thought that said 4n, right? It's 4 to the n. Okay, so therefore that is divergent. Yeah, good. Okay, finally, let's finish it off then. What about this one? What's going to dominate on the numerator? Good, 4n to the 5. What's going to dominate on the denominator? 7n to the 5. Okay, if we cancel things off, this thing is just going to approach 4/7, okay? Which kind of comes back to what I was saying at the beginning. Like, convergent does not mean it always approaches 0. In this case, it approaches 4/7, which is clearly not 0. Okay? It's just if it approaches some particular value. So this sequence, as it gets bigger and bigger, will approach 4/7. So therefore, it is convergent.